Brazil, new President Lula.
Are you retarded?
You know, that same guy who was in jail for political corruption, let out just in time to run against Bolsonaro, beating him fairly, of course.
What the fuck?
And of course, Bolsonaro supporters got upset, started throwing some things.
The country's former far-right-wing president, Jair Bolsonaro, attacked government buildings.
And now their assets are being frozen.
I'm broke, nigga, I'm broke!
Because of January 6th.
Fat, drunk, and stupid is no way to go through life, son.
I'm Jazz Borgonzo, and this is what's next. Ladies and gentlemen, what's next? Your daily dose of common sense and facts. I am your host, Jazz Borgonzo. Hope you guys are doing well on this weekend edition, nighttime edition. Remember that wonderful, ethically sound, honest, transparent election that we had? No, we're not talking about the 2020 Freudian Schneiden, shenanigan-laden debacle, dumpster fire, which of course now we know is rigged. But anyway, we're talking about Brazil. We're talking about that wonderful election that was so transparent and so honest that you had to just go, damn, this election couldn't have got any better. Well, of course, as we all know, that Lula, who was released out of prison for political corruption, not once, but twice, just in time to run against Bolsonaro and pull up the major upset because no one saw this happen. Well, of course, supporters of Bolsonaro got upset, started throwing things, they were screaming and yelling and eventually made their way and caused a riot at the Parliament and Capitol building. But leave it to Lula not to take this lying down and saying, hey, you know what? People are going to get upset. Bygones be bygones. No. Lula's going after their monies. Let's take a look. This comes out of Breitbart. Brazil. Lula court freezes millions of assets of dozens of people over riot. Of course, that is Da Silva Lula himself. A federal court in Brazil ordered the freezing of assets totaling 6.5 Brazilian reals, or in reality, in U.S. money, 1.2 million. It sounds a lot bigger, doesn't it, when it's, foreign money? On Thursday, belonging to 52 individuals and 7 companies suspected of having financed the riot on the Capitol the other Sunday. Brazilian federal court judge Francisco Alhande Ribeiro issued a ruling in response to a request by the government socialist convicted felon President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva. Da Silva Lula? Who cares? Same damn thing. Through the Office of Attorney General. The Attorney General's request lists a group of individuals and companies allegedly that were involved in the financing of the buses that transported protesters to Brazil for a rally on January 8th that evolved into a full-scale riot when protesters stormed the premises of the National Congress, Supreme Court Federal, and the Presidential Palace, causing damages to the facilities, to a priceless historical artifacts that were housed therein. Brazilian newspaper O Globo reported on Thursday that Attorney General office requested a specific amount of assets to be frozen based on on estimated calculations of damages caused by the protesters of the Brazilian Congress. The total of damages caused to the presidential palace and nation's top court, which was the most damaged of the 3, were yet to be assessed. In the ruling, the judge explained the decision by agreeing with the Attorney General's reasoning by those suspected of having financed the buses that transported the protesters to Brasilia were responsible for the damages, even though they did not directly participate in the storming of the federal governmental buildings. The Attorney General's thesis is absolutely plausible that they, having financed the transport of thousands of protesters who participated in the list of events, chartering dozens of interstate buses, contributed to the achievement of massive damage to the public property, being liable, therefore, to enough civil responsibility, the judge wrote. The Brazilian government estimates that 5,000 people were participating in the January 8th riots. The Brazilian government will reportedly use the frozen assets to repair the damages caused by the protesters. The list of frozen assets include real estate, vehicles, bank accounts, and other financial resources. By Monday, Brazil's Federal Highway Police had intercepted and seized 55 buses reportedly involved in the transportation of the protesters. Following the riot, the head of Brazil's Supreme Court, Alejandro de Moraes, that same Moraes who basically let Lula out of prison so that way he was just in time to run against Bolsonaro and win fairly. Ordered the removal of the Brazilian Governor Ibanez Rocha for 90 days due to his alleged willful omission of action in response to the violence. De Moraes also issued an arrest warrant for Anderson Torres, who was Secretary of Brazilian Public Security before Rocha fired him on Sunday. Torres served as Brazil's Minister of Justice between 2019 and 2022 during the government of former President Jair Bolsonaro. Of course, that is him there. On Friday, de Moraes ordered an inquiry against Rocha and Torres, as well as former General Commander of the Military Police, Fabio Augusto Vieira, and a former Interim Secretary of Public Security, Fernando de Souza Oliveira, for their conduct or lack thereof during the riots. Lula's government so far has detained nearly 2,000 people suspected of having participated in the January 8th riots, cramming them into a police academy-style gymnasium. Police have been forced to feed hundreds of these people, including homeless, elderly, women, small children, and people with significant health problems, under humanitarian grounds and lack of evidence their involvement in the event. Sadly, this is just going to go on and on and on. 5,000 detained or supposedly involved in this. 2,000 are in a makeshift prison in a gymnasium. A number of videos already showed them, you had them just crying out for basic supplies, food, water, bathroom facilities, to feed their children, things of that nature. But no. Lula is out to make an example of all of them. You cross me. You give your opinion that I was not elected fairly. Because how dare you? And then you go participate in this riot, this nonsense, this unwanted destruction of government property, because of what they did in America. Remember January 6th? Led by Chewbacca and breaking and entering. 5 police died that day. Even though turns out that one of them was dead by multiple strokes and the other 4 committed suicide in days after. But we're not here to talk about facts. We're here to talk about Brazil and their version of January 6th, because it's the same thing: insurrection, domestic terrorism, evilness. That's what Lula thinks anyway. It turned out that, of course, during this whole situation, you had the military in support of Bolsonaro. The military didn't go to these people's houses and arrest them. They protected a lot of them. But sadly, with this situation that happened at the Capitol and the Parliament, the military had no choice but to arrest a lot of them that were involved in it, even though they believe that they were on the right side in supporting Bolsonaro and were right in being upset on how the election was conducted. And with that being said, I'm Jasper Gonzo. This is What's Next. I want to see more just like this. Please leave a comment below. Like it, share, subscribe to it. And we'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.